right, guys. Another solid day today. Really liked what I saw, not only on the indexes, but in individual names as well. First, today, a breakdown a little bit of the action on the indexes, then go into some individual names that I really like right now. Talk about a couple secondary indicators that I think are really notable as well. But let's start off looking at the Nasdaq here, up over 1%. SPY up over 1%, second day in a row here. Notably, we are significantly over the 21-day here, closed above the 50-day. That feels really notable. I feel like next area of resistance is really all-time highs right now. So that's pretty significant action. Same thing with the S&P, closed significantly above the 21-day for the second day in a row. We've been trapped under there for a little while, so that's great to see. And we're above the 50-day as well right now, so that's super positive. I am keeping an eye on just how far above the 21-day we are on the Nasdaq. I think we're 2.84% above the 21 right now. Feel like that, if we get a little bit too high above that, we might get a little bit of whipsaw back down, but obviously anything can happen in the next couple of days. Looking at some individual names, looking at top gainers from my watch list, felt like there was some really notable action here as well. Marathon Digital, we'll see. This thing keeps making lower highs, but potentially looks like we might start, breaking that trend a little bit here. SMCI had a solid day. GGAL, BMA just continue to be incredibly strong. These Argentina banking names. Twist, great continuation from Friday. Micron, really strong day. Oscar Health, breakout to new highs. NVIDIA had a solid day, started bucking this trend of lower highs as well. So really like that. But just looking at the broad participation here, I feel like I said this on both Thursday and Friday last week, but really nice mix of tech, financials, healthcare, consumer cyclicals in here, a lot of banks, some semi, some software. So I like what I'm seeing here. And then looking at some names, that were making new highs. Really, really like what I saw here as well. First of all, nice mix, a lot of banks, a lot of financials, but we had some internet retail names on here. Coupang's still doing well. Melly's a name we haven't seen in a long time. Some software and tech, which is great to see participation from there. But a few notable names in here, in my opinion. I mean, Goldman Sachs just continues to rip higher. This is closing at all-time highs. I mean, that's great to see. ASPN is closing, holding this big gap up and go. Seeing some continuation there. SUPV is a name that wasn't really on my radar, but another Argentinian bank looking really strong. GGAL, like I said, looking really strong. BMA, these are just continuing to drift higher. So, that's great. I think SIGA, another, I mentioned this on Friday, but I feel like this is a great barometer for risk on versus risk off right now. Holding the breakout so far, so that's great. Vital Farms is just unstoppable, continuing to rip higher. Oscar Health looks really solid. Liking that Pinterest is holding that huge gap up for now. That's really positive. TMDX is continuing the momentum from the breakout. All-time highs for Wingstop. Garmin continuing to go after the breakout. Duolingo closing at highs. That's a great sign. First Solar holding the breakout. Trade Desk looks solid. Looks like it wants all-time highs. So a lot of really good action here, in my opinion. But just moving on to a few names that I thought were notable. A lot of what I just said, but BMA looks good. Coupang's holding highs. Duolingo looks like it's breaking out. These Argentinian banks look incredibly solid. And Tidewater, this was a great breakout on Friday, and it's holding today. So, it looks like some breakouts are working for now. Obviously, that can change at any moment, but does look like we're having some positive momentum. and then taking a look at some other names making new highs, right? DESP was a name that, what was on the radar in the middle of March, kind of got a little bit erratic, but breaking out to new highs. Fresh Pet, big gap up here. Was able to hold, gave up, a good amount on the day, but closing at the middle of the range, nice volume. Zeta closing at all-time highs. Rush Street, a gambling name, had a big gap up on, Thursday. It's been able to hold so far. So, a lot of positive action, I think, in my opinion. And then just looking at some names, you guys know I've been looking at Coinbase and Robinhood pretty closely. It looks like we're still moving sideways today. Hood didn't really participate in the action, but I love what I'm seeing from Goldman Sachs. I feel like that's a great sign for the market. And then, Marathon Digital, like I said, hopefully we can buck this trend of lower highs. But, really solid day today. See if we can start, creeping up the right side and getting towards the top right of the chart here. But obviously anything can happen there. And then looking at some tech names, I think Apple Oven looks like it might be ready to run. This was a name that was really a standout amongst my software names for a long time, especially throughout pretty much, this entire first half of April where the general market was really rough. This was a big standout. Gave back some gains, but it's right back to all-time highs. So I feel like this can really run. Itron, holding that gap up from Thursday, Friday, still really strong. Trade desk looks great. Garmin's holding gains. So, overall, really like what I'm seeing today. Also notable, we saw 45 new highs on my growth watch list, only 5 new lows. That's a plus 40 net reading. That's one of the highest I've seen in the last few months. That's great. Feel like we might get a little bit overly hot in the near term here, but this feels like a great sign. Going forward, I feel like the risk on trend is potentially back. Obviously, that can change, in a second at the drop of a hat, but really like what's going on in the short to medium term. Probably going to start looking to add some positions and add to some existing stuff. So we'll see what happens tomorrow.